Hey guys, Eugene Cousins here. Welcome back to the next edition of the technical video series. All right, so today we're going to be diving back into an element of setting the timing on the new designed engines from Nirvana, the F200 and F160. Now, if you've gone into the previous video, it gives you the exact distance from top dead center to where the firing point should be set. And then on the opposite side of the engine, you have a rotor sensor, which is how the technology pretty much works. Now, there's been a lot of questions coming from some individuals that say that their engine isn't running at the required RPM. It gets up to a certain RPM, like 4,000 RPM or 5,000 RPM, and it doesn't want to go above that. That is either timing related or it is the rotor sensor. Now, I'm going to be plugging in some footage here from the factory where the engineer was colorfully drawing it, how the sensor works. But in a nutshell, I just quickly want to explain that there is a resistor inside the rotor sensor at the tip where it's supposed to catch the magnet on the rotation. And that resistor is held in place with epoxy. And if that rotor sensor isn't completely flush according to how it should be positioned within its plastic container, then it would produce incorrect results. So it's either, so if you have a problem that your engine is not running above a certain RPM, and the signs are pointing towards an electronic fault, this is where you should be looking at. You should be looking at the timing of the engine, and you should be looking at replacing the rotor sensor. The rotor sensor is an incredibly cheap piece of kit, very, very cheap thing to replace to get back into business. So without further ado, we're going to plug into the footage from the factory. All right, guys. So on some of the blue line rodeos and the F-lights, we've had a problem where the RPM does not go over a certain amount, usually around 4,900, 5,000 RPM, where they couldn't get the RPM to go above that. And they don't know, as a troubleshooting situation, the customers and even some of the dealers didn't know what could possibly be the problem. So there are three things that you are going to be focusing on. The first thing is the computer unit. It's pretty much plug and play. So the importer will send you a computer unit that is just pretty much, you don't install it, you just pull out the wires of the old computer and plug it into the new computer, and you see if the engine is running normal. Second to that is the coil box. So you just plug and play the same deal with the coil box and see if that's the issue. If it isn't that, and most likely the reason or the cause for the RPM not coming to its full capacity of roughly around 6,800 RPM would be this little timing sensor over here. Now, it is, you wouldn't see from the outside of it if it is the problem, if it's broken, but inside there is a resistor, and it is held in place with epoxy. And if this thing fails after a few hours, which is uncommon to happen, then the engine would not peak more than its 4,900 RPM. So that will be the part that you swap out, not last, but as a last possible option. But those three items will be the items that you focus on to try and solve that specific problem.
So what are you drawing? Hey.
It's this sensor, yes?
He's drawing me.
So usually we have problem with ignition coil, like it was not even the sensor.
Gabriel, did you design that sensor shape? So the engine ran in the test 100% fine, but then that twisted because of the epoxy that went loose and the sensor failed.
Yes.
There we go. And that would decrease the maximum RPM.
A to by snížilo otáčky.
Ano, ano. Tím pádem se vlastně, když to otočí, tak nějaké magnetické pole, které tady funguje.
Basically what we're just discussing there is that this little transistor is inside, is glued in place with epoxy inside a little plastic cap. It is bolted onto the engine, and it acts as a rotor sensor on a little cone that will spin along with the crank. Now, The main takeaway here is that that transistor could be lifting up, you know, if it loses its placing in the epoxy or just through vibration or something like that, it could lift up slightly, and it scans or does not receive, or would not receive the correct information, and therefore it ends up in a situation where the engine is not producing the amount of power that it should. So that is pretty much the take. All right, guys, that completes our technical series. I do have a lot more other topics, but I'm not going to be flooding the channel with it. This whole series was intended to address some of the most major elements that owners face or could face in their maintenance future if they replace bearings or they experience certain troubleshooting issues. I think you would be able to find references in and amongst these videos that I've posted. If you do have more questions, then you can reach out to me at eugene@nirvananorthamerica.com or eugene@nirvanaafrica.co.za. I'll do my best to be able to answer those questions. Yeah, so I guess we'll be catching up on some other topics, back to instruction videos as well. And I guess I'll be seeing you on the next one.